First of all, where's Katie? Right here. Katie. On behalf of my co-host Katie and I want to thank you all for coming today. And most importantly, I want to thank you all for your support for the Tahirih Justice Center. It's an incredible organization that is providing vital legal services to immigrant women and girls. And, through your contributions during our last campaign, they were able to expand the services they provide and continue to grow. And I think we all know that the needs for those services are greater now than at any time in our history. So thank you, and we're not asking for money today. We'll be back to you in December. And
we'll remind you what a good time.
Yeah,
she's putting it on the tab.
And I also wanted, we wanted to do something different, and I really want to thank all of these wonderful artists whose pieces are in my home. If you haven't had the art tour, you will get it. Every single one of them has works here. And without further ado, I am going to turn it over. First of all, this is Ben Heslop. He is the owner of Landmark Street Art, which is, you can find it on Artsy. It's in northern England, near the border of Scotland. He helped me curate a lot of the art of my home, introduced me to a number of the artists. We also have Tabby, whose pieces you've seen, who is visiting us today from Austria. The boys have been out tagging New York and DC walls. This man, Blade, the king of graffiti, and again, there are books around, so please look at them, is a legend in the graffiti movement. He's sort of the grandfather of graffiti. He's the king. And these two together, this is Martha Cooper, who is a very famous street art photographer. They began their street art journey almost
way earlier.
Okay. And this is Ame72, also known as the Lego guy, and he is joining us today from Israel. So we've got a very cross-cultural section of artists, and without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ben to educate you a little more on the history of street art.
A bold claim for that's going to be so short. Thanks also to Jamie for making this happen. We're going to give you a little snapshot because we've got, again, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but so many generations of people. The young ones and everyone else. So,
between ages of 1 and 20.
Yeah, between an age of. But I don't know, you guys may know nothing about it, something about it. We're just going to give you a snapshot of what it means to us and how we've all sort of interacted with it over the time. As you said, that it's kind of, my role has been meeting artists who I love, and it's such a privilege to be able to work with them as a job as well. And that's how it all started for me. The interesting thing which you need to really realise is when this guy was picking up spray cans, there was no scene. It wasn't a thing. It was just something that he decided to do, and a few others decided to do. And that's really interesting for me when we look at where it is today. The first thing I wanted to ask you, Blade, is what years are we talking when it first started for you?
When it first started for myself and most of my friends at that time was 1972, when I was 15. And we just started cutting out of school and so forth, and just going out and being knucklehead kids. And Martha Cooper came along.
Yeah, but way later. Really. I mean, I'm older. Don't worry, I'm older, but it's not that you're young. But I didn't really register until more like 78, 79.
Yeah,
these guys were painting
we were
out there.
from
Painting their hearts
72,
out for
and just a bunch of kids having a good time. Mayor Lindsay cut all the school programs and the same stuff you hear today. And by them doing that, of course, you have to get out of school at 3 o'clock. There's nothing to do except, of course, kids getting into mischief. And when we were getting into mischief and running around and being crazy, of course, when we were doing that and really being nuts at that time, the government couldn't afford to, the government could not afford to buff and clean things, and that's what, thank you. That's what I look like that guy. And pretty much myself and the group I was with did around 5,000 trains each over like 10, 15 years time, and they pretty much put it and documented it in books. And here you have graffiti and street art all over the world today.
How do you feel about, because back then obviously that was the start of the scene, and now in 2019 we see still a lot of illegal graffiti, but then there's this cult of street art, which is a very different area of it. How do you, from when you were getting cans of red lead back in the day to specific events and stores and the whole theme of street art being such a big thing now, how do you see that kind of journey? Do you think it's a positive thing? And
I think it's positive because the art books have pretty much changed the way people look at graffiti and street art globally, and it's something that seems fascinating to most people, other than, of course, your basic stuff. You see museums, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, great artwork, but to see something completely different all over the world, just from something that happened in New York for a bunch of knucklehead kids having a good time.
Yeah. And that definitely would not have been anywhere near where it is today if it wasn't for Martha, and she'll go, oh, but I mean, it just wouldn't have been.
This book was two people did this book.
Yeah, sorry, Henry Chalfant as well, who's not here today. But, so when you started, because was you a pool photographer at the time, or were you working for the Post?
I was working for a daily newspaper in New York.
And what made you turn your attention to what you were
I was
seeing?
doing a project on kids, a personal project on kids being creative. As I drove back to the newspaper every day, I would take pictures of kids out in vacant lots. And one boy showed me his notebook, and he explained that he was practicing to put his name on walls, not frames actually. And that was the first time that I understood that what I had seen, this graffiti that I'd seen all over the place, that these were nicknames, because it wasn't actually evident. People didn't really know what they were seeing. And I want to say something about graffiti and street art. Graffiti is really about letters, about writing your name. Now you do have some street art like this vandalism right here that is about letters, but mostly graffiti is letters and street art can be images. And graffiti is pretty much spray can and marker, where street art can be absolutely anything. It can be knitting, it can be tiles like Invader, it can be any kind of medium, but graffiti is pretty much, wouldn't you say, marker, spray paint.
Yes, spray paint, marker, and
And now they have companies that are manufacturing spray paint in hundreds of different colors just for graffiti writers.
And your paint was not that?
No, it was just one paint,
Yeah.
certain colors, and everything had lead in it. And only a couple of friends of mine ended up having traces of lead in their blood to this day. You know, because that's what was in the paint. You didn't think about it, you're just 15. You roll a joint, you're getting drunk, and you have it. That's it, right? There was nothing else to it.
But there was a little bit else to it because they used different caps to get the different sprays, so that they would look for oven cleaners,
Yeah,
go to the
you have to go to the
supermarket,
supermarket and
looking
take the
to
tops off oven cleaner.
to-
So to make the paint come out bigger, because you know you don't have a lot of time there, you know the cops are coming and you have to hurry it along.
So they made their own tools, where now there are
Yes.
huge companies making these spray caps, every kind of spray caps you can imagine.
But I still know guys who make their own caps.
I guess that's good, right?
Yeah.
I like to photograph the tools and techniques because I love to see the artists who are able to make their own, create their own tools.
And when we were doing a talk beforehand, the shot I had that interested you most was, Jah, your setup shot of how you get the wall done before the finished product, and that's where the interest lies. How were you received by people like Blake? Obviously, you're going to say he was lovely, but like in general.
I knew his work way before I ever met Blake.
So in general,
so
when
of course
you
I wanted to meet him. I've forgotten actually how we met, but
In your studio, one of those third street.
Yeah.
I got
Somebody-
the picture,
Yeah,
and somebody made it so we got to. I didn't want to meet anybody, of course, over 40 because old people must be with the cops.
that in general, was it received well when you took interest in someone's sort of work and what they were doing, or were they suspicious? Or
You know, photography was always an important part of
documentation
because if you didn't have a picture of your work, there was no proof that you had ever done it. And Blade is one of the few people who actually did document. I have a picture of Blade with all your.
Yeah.
He had photo albums and documented it himself. However, I was a professional photographer. Most of the graffiti writers had the little cardboard one-time use cameras, so I could provide better pictures. And so I think graffiti has always been something where you're admired for your skills. Like anybody could be a graffiti writer if they were good at it. Well, I was good at photography, so that was my entree into the world. I was able to give them good pictures, and I always tried to give back photos of the trains. So yeah, I mean, I don't think they cared who I was. They wanted the pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures were the important thing.
And she's getting great shots, straight shots. Henry's getting straight shots. The shots that my friends and I took, of course, you're really on a station, taking the picture and then, of course, running. So the pictures, they're never really so good.
No high res.
Yeah, no high res, no JPEG. None of that stuff.
So then moving it forwards to Ame, Manchester, starting in the 80s, is that where you say it began for you?
Yeah, I mean, around 1984, 85, I was 12 years old, sort of filmed Beach Street, Subway Art at first coming to the UK.
It was published in the UK because we could not find an American publisher. We looked everywhere, nobody wanted it, but Thames and Hudson published it in England.
This was the only really reference that we had to any graffiti in the UK. It just drew me in straight away at the age of 12, and this book, you know, certainly to the old school, it's known as the Bible, as in the graffiti writer's Bible, and you know, my generation still today refer to it as the Bible. But I was drawn in the 80s. I've painted every year since. You know, I'm 40-something years old, and I'll admit, I still enjoy doing the illegals today.
And I still enjoy photographing.
Yeah. There's some adrenaline rush, there's something about it that just never goes away. And, you know, I've kind of transferred into street art a lot with the stencils and the Lego stuff, which is basically what I've been doing for a living for the last 14 years. But like Martha said, you know, graffiti is about letters, it's about names, it's about getting your name up. And even when we were doing it back then, we didn't care what the public saw in it. It was for us and it was for other artists. And that was it. It was very underground. It was very unknown. And there was a lot of fun in the discovery of the mixing the paint and the different caps and all these techniques, which, you know, you couldn't go on the internet and get this. It was just such a fun time.
There wasn't an internet.
It was an amazing time. And we used to come up with these crazy techniques, like, even in England, we didn't have any of the paint, we didn't have the pinks and the purples. So we used to get a red and a white can, and we'd stick the white can in boiling hot water and get a WD-40 straw, and then when the can heated up to the point that it probably wasn't that safe, you'd push the caps down and the paint would be going everywhere. But what it would do is it would push the white into the red or vice versa, and you get pink. And this is how we've been making colours. It was crazy. It was such a fun time. And you know, obviously you've got this massive scene today with the internet, with the street art and stuff, and it's a very commercial scene. But it enables us to do what we love to do. And for me, it's, you know, it's a big, big part of my life, and it always will be.
How is the crossover between graffiti and street art? Did you see a crossover, or do you see two different camps that you like to sort of have a foot in each, or do you combine it as well?
Well, even though I see myself as both today, as a street artist and a graffiti artist, I still I won't put my street art over tags or pieces or dumps or throw-ups or anything graffiti. For me, that's still a no-no. You know, graffiti always comes first, and then it's the street art after.
Nice. Yeah. So, and then moving further on to Tabby, how long have you been spraying in the streets, basically?
I started about 2013.
I started just making it for myself at home. Eventually, I just had a collection. I thought, I'll just bring it out. And I started with stencils because I have a very short attention span. And I started projects and I'd never finish them because I'd get interested in the next project. So I'd never finish anything. And stencils was the first thing where I started in the day and I'd have a finished thing at the end of the night. So that was like, okay, this is my thing. I can get an idea or a story and actually bring it out before I get bored. And so I just stuck with that.
And your work is, although they're only like singular pieces, they really do tell a story if you see his work, and it's often based around humour. So where do you get your subjects and your stories from? Because one thing I think you do well is you fit a lot into a stationary piece of art. There's a whole scene going on in there. Where does that come from?
Well, it comes wanting to connect with people. So not every piece has to connect with everybody, but eventually everybody finds one piece that they can connect with. So it's just always being open to what's going on in the world, what's important now, what was important in the past, what needs to be highlighted. So it's just trying to get to know what everybody's thinking about and not making every piece work for everybody, but trying to find specific things where everybody can dig into it and just find something that relates to them.
And the theme of humour being like a groundbreaker?
Yeah, humor is like a universal language, so you can be serious, but you still like to laugh. My dad was a hard worker, business suit, but he would sit with the comic pages in the morning in the newspaper and laugh about it, but otherwise he'd be very no-nonsense. So humor is a way to connect people with messages no matter who you are in the world, because everybody likes to laugh. And so that's a good way to highlight something, especially if it's important. If you just say, this is bad and you're a terrible person, nobody's going to change. But if you can make the person laugh about it himself, then he'll be like, okay, I get your point. So it seems like a better way to bring across a message.
Definitely. So without trying to make this into 60 minutes, I don't want to bore you guys too much, but that's like literally such a bizarre snapshot of a real generational spread of how some things that you may see and have had no experience of where it's come from or why it's there might sort of shed some light on that. Has anyone got any burning questions, just like one or two that they want to ask really quickly, or are you all thinking?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, being from Philadelphia, where I grew up in, would you consider the mural art like that happens in Philadelphia City area to be a street art, or would you consider it to be something that is considered graffiti?
Even though you're looking at me, she can answer it better.
I was looking at all you.
When I think of the mural art in Philadelphia as being community mural art, as being a little bit different from either graffiti or street art, because those definitely, they're within the communities, and they usually have a message that relates to the particular community that they're in. Often street art does too, but Philadelphia mural art it's very happy art. Whereas street art isn't necessarily. I would say street art has a wider range of topics that people might address, whereas in Philadelphia, I think they really just want to celebrate the communities of the art. I don't mean, when I say just, I don't mean to belittle the art. There's some amazing artists working in Philadelphia. And I've gone to Philly a couple of times and I've looked at the mural art there, and it's an incredible program. I don't know how many they've done, but probably like thousands, right? Yeah. That program's been going on longer than almost any other mural program. But I do see it as different from what we're talking about here. A little bit different.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question. I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about how you think about your art and the way it interacts with social media. Because one of the places I consider home is Birmingham, Alabama, and I can think of a couple places where like street art has become like one of the things that you go see when you're a tourist in Alabama, or you take pictures in front of. And I was like, when I was thinking about this party, I could like think of my sisters and I taking pictures in front of what I think is street art. And so I just didn't know, like, how do you guys think about that kind of use of your work?
year we're doing a book event. Those walls become backdrops for photographs. And people make fun of that, but I think it's a wonderful way for people to interact with art. I see whole families with little kids and bigger kids, and they're posing their family, and that may be the first connection that those kids have to art. And to me, it's a lot more interesting than dragging them into some museum and making them look at a picture on the wall. And for sure, the social media, like I'm a big Instagrammer. At Martha Abergram. And it's, you know, I love the feedback that I get on Instagram, which it's like self-publishing. It enables me to take a picture of a piece of street art or somebody making painting, put it immediately on Instagram, get comments. Otherwise, those pictures used to sit in my files and are still sitting in my files for years, probably never to get out of my files. So, you know, I'm like pro social media.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there's 2 points to it as well. Weirdly enough, owning a street art company in the UK, the city which I live in had no street art. Maybe it strike you as a bit of a strange business choice there. Like philanthropically, I felt my goal was to bring street art to this city, which had no colour, and that was nothing to do with the commercialism of it. And I've been very lucky with some of the people I've met, and I've been managing to get artists over. So in the last year, we've got 10 different artists from all over the world come and paint, mainly out of their own schedule and out of my kind of desire to see it happen, rather than any kind of fixed event, and just organising the right people with the right walls. And like Martha said, in a place which has no street art, the council can pay as much money, or the municipality can pay as much money to put an event on in a room about the size of this for 3 weeks and call it a success, because the same people from the same groups come and go, oh, that was amazing. Whereas what I've instantly done is given a city of 70,000 people who are going to buy milk, take their children to the park, go to work, they're confronted with this. And I think that's a really interesting conversation to start for any place. And the artists really get that, and the documenters really get that too. But the flip side of, I think, is maybe what you were touching on, is artists get really knocked when the commercialization of their work happens, normally by a big company, nothing to do with anything that we guys are setting up, and suddenly there's an advert and they've picked that area because they've got this in. And sometimes artists want to collaborate on something like that, which is great. But other times the company just goes, oh, we want to be edgy, we want it, you know, that's a great piece, let's use that. Like, you know, we have to pay for it on the street. And that is where friction can occur. And rightfully so, in my eyes, I can't speak for anyone else. Because that's someone's life's work, their talent, and it's now being a big company who's already worth millions is now being able to appear as one thing for nothing. And nothing goes back to the artist. So.
Which means awesome.